On this episode of Empowered by Design, we have a love story. I am so excited to bring you the love story of Allison and Mike. You will hear how they met, fell in love, what they're up to now, where they are going in the future, and so much in between. They talk about their life and their love, how they fight, how they laugh, and how they cherish each other's uniqueness in their relationship. I am so excited to bring you this love story. Stay tuned for my friends and fellow colleagues, Allison and Mike. They are psychologists. They own a group practice together. So they manage a business, they have a family, and they have a beautiful love story. Stay tuned. Welcome to the podcast, Empowered by Design. I am your host, Dr. Liz, a hopeful romantic, mom of two beautiful souls, and partner to the love of my life. As a licensed psychologist, I love helping people heal, grow, and shine. I am a love and relationship specialist and owner of Visionistas by Design Wellness Boutique, where we lead with love and empower you to fly. This podcast delivers inspirational stories, conversations, and lessons on the power of tuning in body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit. Following your intuition, seeing the signs, and listening to the whispers from angels. To pursue your dreams in life, work, and love with intentional vision. Share the love, spread the power. Dream, design, deliver. Welcome to the Empowered by Design podcast. We are here today with a love story episode. Thank you so much, Mike and Allison, for joining me here today on the podcast. I'm so excited to hear your love story and to share it. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll start by just saying how we know each other. We connected several years ago as colleagues and have stayed connected. I have treasured our relationship, especially Allison. Love you, Mike. But Allison and I have really made an intentional effort over the past several years to stay connected in a supportive, consultation kind of relationship, with both of us being psychologists in private practice. And so I hear a lot about you, Mike, but I have very much treasured that relationship and just was so excited when you agreed to come on the podcast and share your love. Tell us how you met. Tell us your love story, how you fell in love.
So we definitely met before we ever officially met.
Several times.
Yeah. So prior to actually meeting in 2005, I was a waitress at the diner where he was a regular, but I actually have no memory of serving him then. But it's like a statistical impossibility that I didn't. But what definitely was informal was my apartment that I lived in right when I graduated from college was next door to where I'd eventually get my first job, which is where we officially met. And so I'd go out, walk my little dog in my pajamas, and there was this guy smoking a cigarette on the next stoop.
Right.
And so
Wait,
yeah.
are you that guy?
Apparently.
Yeah. So we, just a friendly, hey, but that was until we officially met when we started working together.
Yeah. And by the way, that was out of character for me. I'm very introverted. So Allison just happened to be there, and something about her seemed approachable. So I said hi, and it was just like I would normally I'm usually in my own bubble. So to say hi and strike up a conversation that's unusual.
Wow. I love that. Yes, Allison, there's something like magical and magnetic about you that drew him in
Oh, yeah.
out of your bubble.
We officially met my first day on the job, at my first job after college. I was 20, he was 25. And I was just being given a tour like around the facility, and he came down with a couple other people, and we were
Actually, I was
introduced.
coming back from somewhere with Jeff, my supervisor, and so you were coming down the stairs,
That's what it was.
and they said, "Oh, this is Allison. She's going to be working here. She's a new hire." And you grabbed onto the railing and you reached down to shake my hand and made direct eye contact, and I shook your hand, and it was the weirdest thing. I knew in that moment that Allison was special. It was magic. I'd never experienced anything like it before. And I remember thinking, like, this is odd, but like, she's going to be important. She's going to be important to me right away. And so I like that carried with me. And I remember I was across the street from our office. I was talking to one of our RAs, and Allison came out of her apartment, and I looked across the way, and I said to the RA, like, that woman over there she's special. Like, I don't know why, but like, I think she's going to be like really important in my life. And then Allison's then boyfriend at the time came out, put his guitar on the ground, and they hugged and kissed. And I was like, well, maybe I was wrong about that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm dying over here because you just put me through all the wave of emotions. I'm like, oh, when you said, the magic, and then, oh my God, that is so hysterical.
Yeah. But then what did your cocky self say to the RA?
Oh, well, yes, I did say this. In our field, and at least where we were working at the time, when you get your first real job out of undergrad, any relationship that kind of precedes that doesn't last. Like, it falls apart when adult responsibility kicks in. And I was like, that's not going to last long.
Oh my God. Oh, that's funny.
That was 25-year-old me who was a little more cocky than I am now. And I was like, yeah, it's probably not going to last long. She's probably still special, but like, it's a little hard to see her. Like, apparently I read that situation a little wrong. So,
well, it sounds like you read it exactly right.
Ultimately, yes.
Yeah. Ultimately. So 3 months later, I was single.
Okay.
And we had gotten to know each other, like, just as friends and colleagues. We worked together. Everyone called him by his last name, or like combination first last name, like Otto or Mike Otto. And so I did the same thing. I cannot call him by his first name to this day.
Right, it's weird.
Weird.
Right.
We've
It's
tried
funny.
it. Neither of us like it. So I call him Otto, or Mike Otto, just like I did when we established our relationship. But it was nice. Like, we were both in the field a lot, but we shared an office with a couple other people, one of whom, our friend Jason, is like still one of our best friends to this day. And we just got to know each other, like, without the pressure of dating, which I think was really, really good for us. And then, I went to, prior to breaking up with my then boyfriend, I did not bring my then boyfriend to the Christmas party. And my 2 dates were our friend Jason and Otto. We went together. And then I just remembered like having such a great time with these people. And it was like kind of like the last wake up call I needed of like, there was a reason I didn't bring that person to the party. It's like not fitting into my life anymore. These really fun, amazing, positive people like that are out there. So I broke up with my ex. I somehow had set up like several dates with several different people, none of which were Otto. And then just after Christmas, we were all hanging out at Otto's apartment, Jason, Otto, and I. Jason left. And Otto and I just got to have some like one-on-one time together. And that was the first time we really had that since I was single, since we were both single. And one thing led to another in terms of just connection. And we ended up kissing. And he asked if he could see me again. And I said, anytime. And he loves that. He thinks I said it like anytime. Like, and a couple days later, we had our first date for New Year's Eve. I promptly canceled the other dates that I was planning on having with the other people. And on our first date, I did not know this. Otto was like, hey, why don't you come to my friend's house? It's a very low key, like New Year's Eve party. I didn't realize on our first date, he was introducing me to like all the most important people in his life.
Yeah, but it was also a New Year's Eve party. My philosophy on that was, if you don't like people who are family to me, this isn't going to work.
I love that. Yeah.
So I made Otto dinner at his apartment. We went to this party. We had a blast. I loved all the people. They loved me. I guess I passed the test that I didn't know I was taking. And 2 years later, we were engaged. 2 years after that, we were married. And here we are now, 17 years later.
I love it. Yeah. Well, so we know Mike fell in love with you at that moment. Would you say that, Mike? Would you agree? When you said she's special, I was waiting for you to say I'm going to marry that woman, but you were like, she's special. You knew something.
Yeah. So it's I've never felt anything like it before. And this is off of me being purposefully single for 2 years, a little bit more than that, actually. I had a string of not so great relationships, and I decided I'm not going to settle. And so, and at that point, like when I met Allison, it was the first time it just seemed like it was something, it was different. This is, if I'm going to take a chance on anything, she's probably it. Like, she's not settling. She is special. Something is there. But given my history, like I definitely in my head was not going to say this is the woman I'm going to marry, but this one is worth seeing where it will go. And it's gone pretty awesome so far.
Yeah. We were saying last night, like, we like each other more now than we did then. Yeah, which is great, like, because the way that I think we've grown up, the way that I think we've each worked on ourselves individually as we've like just dealt with challenges in our lives, like having kids, adulting, like period, all of that, like facing, like working through stuff from our own individual histories. Like, I feel like we've just grown closer. And, we're like such a stronger couple now, even than we were back at the beginning, for sure.
Absolutely.
I love hearing that. Yeah. It's beautiful because it's because I guess in our line of works, I think sometimes we don't hear that often, and we know it's possible. We know it's out there. And so to hear it is so encouraging and lovely. I love that you said we've worked on ourselves individually and also as a couple and a family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And, I feel like you think you've got some things handled and then you have like a baby.
No. Yeah.
Maybe we need to revisit some of these things, and so like just the being open to doing that, again, I think both individually and as a couple has been really important. And and, like remembering to have fun. And like we wrote our own vows for our wedding, but we did it together. And like one of the ones that he reminds me of frequently is honoring each other's uniqueness. Cherishing each other's uniqueness.
Yes.
And we like say like, you're my forever play person, like to one another. And so like, sometimes if there are like moments where I'm feeling annoyed, he'll be like, well, I'm your forever play person.
Yeah. And so to that, that's a thing that I told you early on in the relationship that you said has been really important. And it's a good thing that I said that. I said to you, there are going to be probably many times in the course of our relationship where I am going to think that what I am saying or doing is the most hilarious thing ever. And you will not feel that way about it.
I will not feel that way about it.
And you remind yourself, you have several times when I have really annoyed you, like the business card when we were looking at wedding venues, and she was driving and I would just like poke her in the arm with the corner of the business
God,
card.
I was gonna punch my face.
She got so upset at me at one point, so mad, more mad than she's ever been, that she slammed on the brakes in her little red 2003 Corolla, and the car like slid. You could hear the tires.
There's no one behind us. We're on the driveway.
And she looked at me like she was gonna, like she wanted to kill me. And I looked over and I thought that was the most hilarious thing. I started laughing and I couldn't stop laughing for about 15 minutes. She was driving, and I think she ultimately came back around like, I'm glad you said that early on in our relationship. Sometimes you're going to think things are hilarious. And
to which point, like one of our coping mechanisms for fighting, and I don't know that this is healthy for everyone, is like we will often mock one another's irrational anger.
Yeah.
So like when like one of us is legitimately angry, like, and we're having a discussion about it and it's rational. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a very different thing. But like when one of us is irrationally grumpy or angry, the other one will like mock it a little bit and just like to bring the humor to like, are you being serious right now? Like, so we keep each other in check, we call each other out on things. We often do so with humor. That has been super helpful. Kind of like, I think one of the things we've learned over time, like when we would fight at the beginning of our relationship, it's like working through, like going through like the whole process to get to the, like, this is what this is actually about. And I think over time we learn to like skip all of this stuff and just have the discussion about what it's about.
Yeah. So it's not that like in the course of our marriage that we don't argue. We certainly do. Probably, little things come up each week. It's that we're efficient about it. We get through it fast and then move on with life.
I love that. I say more about that. Because I think I'm imagining what you're saying is like, I'm understanding it like this. Like we as couples, we can fight about things like who's doing the dishes, taking out the garbage, and things that like every couple has these things that keep coming up over and over, whatever they are. And I'm like putting like, it's like surface stuff, right? But what you're saying, I think, is you can kind of have throughout the years recognized these things are sometimes, most times, representing something much deeper that's going on. And when you can kind of be like, oh, look at us arguing about the dishes again. What's that really about? Let's cut to the chase and be real efficient about this.
Yeah, it's very much that. And in the course of our work, if we've worked with couples, like a surface level thing can turn into a small argument that then leads to a big argument about everything. And at that point, nobody wins. Everybody's more and more upset, and it's like, you're not handling the thing at hand. And so we are able to, in the moment, sometimes give each other the space, the silence even, to say like, how are you feeling? what's going on with you today? Are you having an off day? Or in some cases, like this comes from, psychologically speaking, this comes from mom. This road leads back to mom. This road leads back to dad. This is upbringing stuff, and I'm going to try to keep that in check. Instead of keeping score, instead of saying, defensively saying like, well, I do this, but you do all these things, and that it's not productive. So we just stay on task. Like, this thing makes me mad. Let's talk about this thing. Let's get through it. Let's get to the other side, and then we can hang out and cuddle and watch a movie.
Yeah. There's a lot more of like, okay, I hear you. Like, we don't need to like be huge to make a point heard. Like we often will very quickly jump to like you said this thing, I heard you, got it. And then you move on.
Allison, when I was saying how I understood it, saw your face and I saw your, like, I thought maybe you had a better way to clarify it for the listeners. Because what I think is really, I want to emphasize is that you two are psychologists. You work with helping people, right? Helping people just have better joy in life, work through relationship issues, whether you're working with one person or you're working with the couple. And so the things that you're saying are so valuable to the people listening. And so I want to make sure I'm making it as clear as it can be so that we're helping people, understand it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think the way that you described it was good. I think the other things are like, one of the other things that I think is helpful just additionally is that because we know each other so well, when we have our own blind spots, the other one can like very quickly help point that out to the other person, like hey, here's what I think may be going on here. Like, could this be part of this?
Yes.
And, I don't think you have to be a psychologist to do that. You just have to know the other person, and you have to be willing to admit that the other person is right. or that they know you as well as you know them, and maybe they have a point, and just to like take a breath and get out of your own way.
Very clearly, you both have said we make time for each one of us in the relationship, right? Like, I love the cherishing the uniqueness. Here at Visionistas, and when I work with couples, I talk about this to help people understand it. And like, I use what I call the fun love formula, where there's 3 circles, 3 rings, like a little bit like a Venn diagram, where there's space for each person in the relationship, each part of the duo, when we're talking about 2 people, and then a ring for the relationship. And those rings move in and out of, overlapping and space. But the important part is, and you've said that this is what you've done, is making time for each person's uniqueness, individuality, space, time, energy, passions, jobs, whatever it is. And you make time for that middle circle of the relationship, recognizing that they're distinct, yet they all affect one another, really importantly.
Yeah. And I feel like, I don't want to speak for you, Otto, but I feel like we're pretty aware of when something is out of balance and needing to attend more to that. Like, if we haven't taken a date night in a while, we start to feel it.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as we recognize, like, oh man, we haven't done this in a while, let's prioritize this. And we try to have like a goal of once a month minimum that we're getting out and doing a date night just with the 2 of us. Or like the rare opportunities when the 2 of us can go to Whole Foods and grab lunch during a work day. Or like take a quick walk around the parking lot, just like these moments to connect. Because even though we work together, we are pretty busy. But yeah, like we feel it, or like we feel it if we're not giving enough space to the individual stuff too.
Yeah. And so a good example of that is, at least once a year, you might want to go visit your family. That means you got to hop on a plane and go away for a couple of days. And that means I'll hang out with the kids and make sure that they're fed and watered, and safe. And you'll hang out with your family. Or, if a friend of, like, if I just want to go, like with Jason, out to a concert, or, go out to have some dinner and drinks with a friend, which I'm going to be doing next week. Just to have that and not needing to be around each other all the time, allowing that individuality to still be there. But then, the work of marriage sometimes is fun. So, keeping the novelty, the new experiences, the date nights, that's all important. So, for us to also, the last big one that stands out to me, is our 10th wedding anniversary, when we went to New York for a long weekend. That was magical. So I'm looking forward to doing something like that again.
Yeah, we did that. We did a smaller version to New Hope more recently, like since COVID, but it's even that taught us, like, wow, getting away even for more than an evening. It's like really a good reset.
Yeah.
And our kids are old enough now that we can start to do that more easily, so we didn't want to do it when they were just a couple of years old. But it's a little bit easier to do that. We have a circle of, like a small circle of people that can be with the kids while we go do those things, and like also taking time out as a family to like do the same thing, with the kids, to get away for a short weekend, long weekend, day trips, and to have those novel experiences together, not just as a couple, but also as a family with the kiddos, is good for all of us too.
Yeah. I love the part of the forever play person. I love that. Love that. Because fun and novelty and doing those new things, and, sometimes it pushes the limits of our comfort for whatever reason. But it's so important in the spirit of balance, for sure.
Yeah. And I think, so we're so opposite in the extroversion introversion realm. Like, Otto is on a pretty far extreme of introversion, and I'm on a pretty far extreme of extroversion. So like that comes with its own needs, right? Like I could have 5 social things scheduled in one weekend and love it. And Otto would be like, kill me now. Like after 2 of those things.
You're going to 4 out of 5 of those things by yourself.
Yes. So like that's what, like I will, like we'll do like something together and then I'll go do something alone. Or I will know that if and I had to work harder on this than he did for sure. Like to be mindful of it. I'll know that if we have a really busy weekend with other people, I cannot schedule a really busy weekend with other people the following weekend. He's going to need to like chill. But I feel like Otto is really good at like getting, like articulating the restless, like, okay, we as a family need to get out for the day, or we need this novel experience. And then my extrovert brain will jump into gear, be like, here are 10 options of something we could do. Because I could be like on that all the time. So I'm not necessarily recognizing when it's a need for all of us, as opposed to just like my extrovert need. And so Otto is such a good like dial on that. And then he just kind of like hands it to me like, we need to go out today. And I'm like, okay, great.
Done.
Here we go. Here's our plan.
Yeah. So the differences that you recognize your differences, you've recognized them more and more over time, how to make them work together as complementary. You're a great team. And I love too the part where you've talked about different things like even fighting, or arguing, and all of the things, giving each other feedback of like, maybe this is going on. It all comes from a place of love and respect, right? So it's very different from when you may get feedback from someone who where it doesn't feel like it's coming from, I love you, and I think you might be missing this piece, right? This is in your blind spot. Whereas sometimes, absolutely, as humans, we get very defensive when we hear that from someone, but the coming from that place of love and respect helps to kind of lower the defensiveness. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have so much love and respect for each other. And just being able to cut to that, and not, there's no reason to like, if there's like an urge to make someone else hurt, it's not about them. It's about you feeling pain and wanting to lash out. Right. And I think, we can recognize like if that's there very quickly in each other, like that might be one of those times where like start to mock each other's anger. Like this is something that is like this part of it's rational. This part up here is not rational. It's like, let's ignore this. There's nothing good that comes out of that, and like get right to here. And I think we're good at seeing that, or if it's like out of anxiety or out of, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But being able to like help each other quickly separate from the noise of it all.
Yeah. And be present, right? So I think, Mike, you were saying earlier, the part of just kind of checking in, like, what's going on for you right now? What's your day like? What are you feeling? Are you hungry? Are you tired? Right? Like being able to recognize that sometimes helping each other, like, oh, let's just pause right here in this moment and see what's going on, is helpful.
We have known each other since 2025. No, that's in the future. 2015.
Yes. I don't have a DeLorean yet.
2005. God, I'm really bad with dates. We've known each other since 2005. We're married. We have 2 kids. And we also own a private practice together.
And that's the part that I think I'm most in awe of, that you are married and you own a business together. And so you're together a lot and you make it work.
Well,
I feel like
we're not. I mean,
that's true.
Literally, like her office is on the other side of this wall. We might give each other a high five in the hallway a couple times a day, but that's about it. Otherwise, it's texting, or one of us has to leave early to get the kids and look after them for the evening. So we own and operate a business together, but we don't see each other much.
Yeah, I think like if we were legitimately like together all day, every day, I don't even know what that would look like. We've never done that before. But yeah, owning a business like gives us a chance to just like have those moments here and there for sure. But yeah, we're kind of like partners in every area of life, really.
Yeah, that's such a good way, a much better way of framing it, because as I was saying that, like that you're together all the time, that you're partners and you manage these 2 really big things together successfully, a business and your family. So being partners, you're right. You don't spend all day together or tons of time necessarily, but you have to really make it work in like managing and navigating those different aspects of life, business and life and love, all at the same time.
Yes. It could be a lot. It's a lot of things to juggle.
Yeah.
But at least, we worry about only having to do that together. It's not like we have to negotiate like our partnership at home and then a different partnership with someone else at work.
Right. Yeah.
That's helpful, I think.
So yes, you have a lot of things to navigate, a lot of things to be working on together. So not only your psychological practice, but I love, Allison, you have talked previously about, quote, passion projects that both of you enjoy. And I'd love for you to tell us about those.
Sure. So I'll tell you about mine first.
Okay.
So I became a travel writer during COVID, of all times, when no one was traveling, I started writing about it, and became published and started a website and some social media stuff around that. And so it's just been really fun to have. I mean, I love travel anyway. It's always been a passion of mine, and we love traveling with our kids. But really just like documenting it, reflecting back on it, sharing that with other people, and empowering other parents to get out and travel with their kids. And it's such a fun way to document all of that for our kids. So they have it to look back on. It's almost like a massive virtual scrapbook, you know?
Yeah.
But it's been really fun, and just something like to give some of my creative energies to that has nothing to do with work.
Yes.
And I've been trying to do more of that. So I've been doing that. I've been singing with a band lately, which is totally new. But yeah, just putting some energy into that. And even though like it's about traveling with our family and focusing on that with our kids, like it's something that feels very much like mine, and a really big creative outlet for me.
Yeah, I love that. How did that go? I loved seeing that you were doing that.
It's been really fun. We've had a few gigs. It's been really successful. We have a couple more coming up. It's just like a really wholesome group of guys. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to get involved with. Really, it's been super fun.
And where can we find you? Follow these things, the travel writing, your band. Where can we find that?
So the best way to find me on social media is like on all the main platforms. I'm at Kids Come With, and the website is just kidscomewith.com. So super easy. And the band that I have been singing with is Fictional Name, and they're on Instagram and a couple of the band websites.
Awesome. So Kids Come With on all social media, main platforms, and kidscomewith.com. And then the band is Fictional Name.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But that's me.
Yes.
Otto, what about you?
Me? So probably the biggest thing is wristwatches, mechanical wristwatches, but really watches of all kinds, including smartwatches. And how I got into that is when the original Apple Watch came out. I was really, really big into tech, and obviously the Apple ecosystem. And the watch was it was an interesting thing. I thought I could have this little computer on my wrist. And so I saved up and I bought like a fancy steel one with the link bracelet, and it was outrageously expensive. And it was the first time, like when I was doing sessions and people would, in the middle of session, just see this thing on my wrist that wasn't a traditional watch, because not everybody was wearing them at the time. And they just kept glancing at it. They wouldn't say anything, but they would just look. And so ultimately, like, I thought that experience was interesting, also kind of distracting from the therapeutic process. I ultimately wound up hating the first Apple Watch. It was really slow. It was underpowered for what it was, and I spent so much money on it. And I thought, well, the next year this thing is going to be better, and this thing that I spent a whole bunch of money on is still going to be not good and overpriced, and it'll be worth less. So I wound up selling it, and I wanted to see, because I took a bath on that watch. I lost a lot of money. I should have held on to the bracelet. I could not have known that 8 years ago that the link bracelet would still fit on smartwatches today. So obviously I hated it then, and that's what got me into watches, but I'm wearing like the Apple Watch Ultra today. So I've come back around to it. But for the Otto's watches, like I wanted to see what I could get in terms of like a real watch for the money that I spent on the Apple Watch, at least that I got back from it. So I dove into what kind of mechanical wristwatches are out there, what's a good starter watch, and I took a deep dive into social media and watch channels that were coming out, and just learned more about different watch brands and different movements, and it's just fascinating.
Yeah.
And so from there, I really kind of like took in as much as I could. I read things that are watch podcasts that I listen to even today. And so I probably have more watches than I should. But what I do is I shoot them, and when I get a new watch, I'm still actually working my way through my collection. When I get a new watch, I'll shoot it and put it up and see where that goes. So that's the passion of mine.
Where does it go? So you shoot the watches, you video them, you put them on your social media, and then what happens? Do people buy them?
No, actually,
you collect them all?
So I do collect them. I do sell some watches. Like that is part of the watch hobby that I really enjoy and that I'm just getting into. I bought some tools and I have a watchmaking desk. And so I'm hopefully going to have some time in the coming year to learn more about taking watches apart and servicing them, at least on a basic level. What I've done so far is I will look on eBay for very cheap watches that have really been loved and have seen a lot of life, and they're dinged up and the crystals are scratched and you can barely see the dial. And I recondition them cosmetically and put them on a new strap. So I have sold some watches. Some of them have really good patina, so they're aged in a way that is unlike any other watch. And so I can clean those up and sometimes make a decent profit on them just by kind of making them look as new as possible, but leaving the character, leaving the dings, leaving some of the scratches, but taking the micro ones away and putting it on new leather. Gives this watch from the 70s or 80s, maybe sometimes even from the 1960s, a whole new life.
Oh, rebirth. Love it.
Yeah. There's a Timex that I bought for $10 earlier this year, and I just sold it for $100.
Nice.
To a movie production company, right?
In Georgia. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where can we find you and all of this fascinating crafting that you do?
It's at Otto's Watches, where I'm on social media.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us where you're going. Tell us about your dreams, your vision for the future.
So we are finished with having children. All done. No more there. We feel very comfortable with our two.
I'm laughing at your spirit fingers about that.
We've said we don't want to be outnumbered. We're good with ours.
Good point. Yeah.
We fit just right. We don't have to get a special car. We don't have to get a van. So yeah, it's good. All done. No more diapers. None of that. Just try and raise good humans.
Yes. So I think we're kind of at this stage of recognizing okay, what do we need more of? What are we done with and ready to move on to the next thing? We decided we don't want more kids. We are great with ours. Where is our business going? What's the next step? Okay, maybe buying a building in a handful of years and going from there, or definitely spending more time on our individual stuff because we have the time now more than we did before. If it were to me, I would add a whole lot of travel into what comes next. And Otto's just deep breathing over there, probably, as I say that.
No, I like travel. So it's one of the things that I rarely left the state before you and I got together. And so I like being able to get out and have those experiences, seeing different cultures, different places. I enjoy traveling. I don't like planning it. So that's totally your zone, but I do enjoy where we go and what we do. So it's one of those things where, and I tell my clients this all the time, I sometimes have to be dragged kicking and screaming to something, but I usually will like it. So I've gotten better at rolling with that over time.
Especially if Allison's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I do a pretty good job planning it. Yeah. So travel, individual stuff, individual passions.
Yeah, I think.
What do you think, Otto? What's next?
So definitely the building has been on our plans for a while. I like the idea of taking some of the income that we make from here and diversifying. So other businesses that are passion projects of sorts, but ideally would also be financially sound. So just making sure we have income from various places. Not quite sure what that would look like yet, but it's something we've discussed. We've talked about things like wedding venues and car washes and like maybe a fast food joint, just because like apparently those lines and parking lots are always full when we drive by them.
Yeah,
And
we don't actually eat fast food.
Although we don't eat that food, we'd probably be happy to sell it. But just looking at different options. So
Yeah.
Fun.
I don't know. I've told Otto he should write a book
Ooh.
ideally, at some point, I'll
someday.
get to that. Yeah, we'll see.
Who's more of the dreamer?
I don't think it really, that scale is probably fairly balanced.
I agree.
I know you both looked at me like so confused when I asked that. That's so funny.
Yeah, I feel like we both have like individual ones. We talk about them all the time. And so like individual, shared, family, like I don't think either of us have a problem in that department. I think we are both big dreamers and share our dreams a lot.
Yeah. And then they come true. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you for coming and sharing your story with us and your wisdom.
Thank you for having
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us today and tuning in to another beautiful love story. Allison and Mike, thank you so much for sharing your love with us and the inspiration that you have brought to us today to be friends, to make time for each other, to make time for ourselves in relationships, to work as a team, to laugh, and to love in all aspects of our life. Thank you for joining me and Allison and Mike today for the episode of the Empowered by Design podcast. I cannot wait to connect with you again next time. Take care. Thank you for connecting on this episode of the podcast, Empowered by Design. For further connection, subscribe to my email list at drliz.com to be sure that you are in the loop for exciting news, events, and resources. You can also follow me on social media at Dr. Liz and at Visionistas by Design. I invite you to subscribe to this podcast and send this episode to one of your people in order to share the love, spread the power. This podcast is designed to inspire, educate, and empower you to pursue your dreams with intentional vision. This podcast is not meant to be a substitute for psychological treatment or a working relationship with a licensed mental health professional. For more information on connecting with mental health resources in your area, visit drliz.com and click on resources. Thank you again for connecting, and remember, trust the heart, work your vision, dream, design, deliver.